Hello and welcome to the Theatre Pitch podcast. My name is Jem. This is Sean.
Hello.
Hello.
I feel like that is the very first time you've ever gone hello and not hello everybody.
Oh my goodness! I did feel like something was weird. I was kind of like half tempted to stop and be like, "Did I do that right?"
Someone's really annoyed Gemma, and that's why she's not saying everybody, because there's someone out there that she doesn't want involved in that everybody.
Ooh.
So it's hello, most people.
Hello, selected few. My name is Jem. This is Sean. Joe. Yep. Hello. How are you?
Hello.
Yeah.
I just felt like this vibe now befitted a bit of kind of like Top Hat mime.
Yeah, it feels like we should be far more theatrical right now.
You know, I'm throwing in something for all the YouTube audience. For the audience at home, this bit's probably going to be cut anyway.
That'll be fine. But we're being dramatic. Because...
I don't know.
We'll just see.
Ask me on Sunday.
Well, welcome everybody, or just a selected few, to the Theatre Pitch podcast. This is the podcast where we take a random online encyclopedia page and we each pitch how we would turn it into a theatre show. And then at the end of the podcast, we take all three pitches, and no matter how successfully or unsuccessfully, we attempt to smush them into one. So you're going to walk away with 4 pitches at the very least, because sometimes we are known to pitch more. Joe, what is this episode about?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Jem, because last week at the end of the episode, we put into the randomizer to get an online encyclopedia article, and it was List of Twin Towns and Sister Cities in Portugal. This is a list of municipalities in Portugal which have standing links to local communities in other countries, known as town twinning, usually in Europe, or sister cities, rest of the world.
I very nearly, after you just said the title of the article, I very nearly just was like, well, how did you feel about this? Because there's not much more to the article. It's it says what it does on the tin kind of title.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to sit here for 2 hours and me just list all of these and watch as I somehow insult every country on earth with my pronunciations,
I think that can be a special episode. But not this episode.
That's if you want to subscribe to our Patreon and also you want to set up a Patreon for us, I will do that.
There you go. Some light admin work in order to get Joe reading out lists. There is definitely a niche on the internet for that. There is a niche. How did you find the niche of this list of Twin Towns, not Twin Towers? Wrong article.
As always, absolutely smashed it. No complaints about my idea whatsoever. Rock solid. Best I've ever thought of.
Good. Cool. 10, 10, 10 on Joe's scoreboard. Sean has
wait, I didn't say it was a 10. I just said it was the best idea I've ever thought of. Don't put words into my mouth.
No, but
Yeah, I absolutely smashed it. 7.5.
At least you've thought of an idea.
Sean, that's a lie.
How did you find this article?
Great.
Anything else? Just great.
Yeah, I smashed it. How to sound amazing without saying arrogant.
10, 10, 10.
I've done it. I may have the best idea. I definitely have the best idea of us three.
Okay.
Yes, best idea of the season. I'm gonna say it now. I know that's not saying much, but I'm gonna say it. This is the one. This is the one.
Okay. Well, I think we've all thrown gauntlets down onto the table. I'll just throw mine in for fun as well, because Chaos Demon. So who wants to go first?
Well, I feel like I went first last week from what I remember, so I don't want to go first again this week.
Shall I go first?
Yeah. Let's get the long one out the way.
It's actually not a long one. I actually can't make it a long one.
She says that, and she explains her idea for about 10 minutes, and then goes on about the philosophy behind it for about another 20 minutes. It's like, not that long, Sean. Not that long, Sean. But this is what it means.
I mean, I was going to start with the philosophy today, I'm going to be honest. Okay, so my idea for this idea of twinning and twinning towns is I am super fascinated at the moment about what happens when you kind of cut to the smush, but with cultural items. And this idea that twinning towns is there as an attempt to increase cultural diversity and understanding and such like that. So my idea is a festival of cultural smushes. That's not the title, it may be the title, but that is what it is. So what we do is, through commissioning artists, through a program where we take established artists that are international and we pair them up. I want to pair up some Portuguese artists, and also it's cross mediums, so it's not just we've got a theatre show. There can also be bits of art and performance art and things like that. But for the sake of this being the Theatre Pitch podcast, we're going to focus on the theatre bit, where I'm wanting to take some Portuguese artists and theatre makers and commission them to work alongside British or American or whatever, but I actually really am interested in British culture because that's my own. And have a festival where we commission them to work together and to bring their various different cultural items together. So it's kind of a short pitch because the details will all be within the actual what the artists bring. But I'm really hoping that there are some really great contributions from artists that will get audiences to really think about, not only their culture and somebody else's culture, but what happens when you are cross-cultural, which is something I'm super, into, because I am cross-cultural, having grown up in Britain and actually being born in formative years in South Africa. So that's my pitch. Eat your own hat, Sean.
Well, at least we've got another thing to add to the list of things Jem loves: cross-culturalism.
So
at the moment,
your idea is it's a fringe festival, but only the Portuguese and the English can come.
Well, now you put it like that.
No. I mean, there's scope to go wider, but initially I'm like, I want to see what happens when you take Portuguese culture, and the culture of our because there's various different cultures across England and Scotland and Ireland and Wales, and the UK is incredibly diverse within its little cultural bits. There are strands of mainlines, and I wouldn't be surprised if that's the same for Portugal. So I want to actually go, okay, what happens when you put small town Portugal with small town North Yorkshire, and have those two cultures meet in the middle and hold hands or have an argument. What happens when maybe the concept is that you've got an old granny from both little villages and they meet in the middle, and they don't speak the same language, but they still manage to fight over the grandkids. And look at these similarities as well as the differences. You're looking at me like I'm crazy for that, for the grandma pitch. The grandma pitch came straight off the top of my head right now. It's why I don't improvise. The idea of having a festival of cultures meeting, that's my pitch.
But you haven't told us how the festival, where it is, how it's going to be presented. If you're gonna say festival, at least like when I sort of cheated like you're doing now with the Chicago one, and it was like it's a big festival. I at least explained where the idea behind the festival was, how long it was going, and where it was. You're just telling us now that British people and Portuguese people meet in the middle and they argue over their grandkids. And they meet in the middle. What, France?
No. So when I started thinking about this, I got annoyed at myself because I'm through everything else I'm doing, I'm so inclined to just dive and rely on digital technology a lot. And I got really frustrated boxing myself like that. But there is something that one of the things that's be in my bonnet creatively is saying, okay, well, what happens if we hold that festival in a location here in Britain, but also hold the festival simultaneously at a location in Portugal, or indeed multiple locations, and then like you can stream into each other, and you can use digital technology to bridge that gap. I don't want it to be a virtual festival, but what happens when you've got your localized activities in each place, but then you also sit and you meet in the middle by actually saying, okay, what if there is a VR experience where it's a 360 camera?
Don't bring GoPros into this, Gemma.
I'm gonna bring GoPros, but this time I'm upping it. I'm putting it as a 360 GoPro. And what happens if like you can go and sit in a small town market in a small village up in Yorkshire, surrounded by Yorkshire cheese, and then like you can put on a VR headset and look around a small market town and market in Portugal, and how you can sort of say, well, I'm in a similar setting, but here are different sounds and visuals, and you know, how can we sit there and experiment with all of these moments to bring out the similarities we have as people and the things that are human, but also the individual bits. So yeah,
I love it when Gem's backed into a corner and she just says words.
Yeah,
She's
I feel like really
emotions
the question
things.
is, Gem,
mm-hmm.
we get the idea behind it, we get the philosophy, but we're just wondering what the actual shows look like.
I don't know, because I'm commissioning them. If I'm pitching for this as a producer of theatre, literally I'm pitching for the funding for commissioned items as artists, right?
Is this what it sounds like when I sound doing interpretive dance?
All I'm thinking is it makes it a lot easier in terms of cutting to the smush, because all we have to do is say
it's Gem's thing.
So it's Gem's thing, but it involves ours as two of the events.
So what if I want to be helpful?
If I was you, Gemma, I feel like you've missed the trick.
Okay.
Because I get what you want to do. You want to do, oh, it's a festival for arts that has influences from the Portuguese and influences from the British. That's all you give us. So now what I would do is, you know, hey, Joe,
I was about to say, Sean,
I'm mansplaining.
do you want to
here.
just cut straight to you telling us what you do by giving
No,
us a pitch?
no, because my idea is nothing like this. But if I was if I was going to do Gem's idea, you know how you've got like the city of culture stuff and like one city, so it's just been Coventry last year, and you know how like it would, like in 2005 it was Liverpool. That's literally the only ones I can think off the top of my head. Maybe
Hull.
2006 Hull was one.
Mm-hmm. Coventry.
Wow, yeah. Well, Coventry's not much better. So for a whole year, they commission art, they commission theatre, they commission immersive stuff. They commission loads of like, look, this is our city. Why don't you have just done that but condensed it into like a week of events? So it's art, it's this, it's that, and one city that you're twinned with. So a city in Portugal and a city in Britain, and they literally flip their weeks. So instead of with city and culture, we perform our art, we perform our performances in the city. With this idea, you go to the city, the artists switch.
See, I like the idea of like mimicking the city of cultures model, but what I don't like about that is, for me, it's not about switching. It's not about just saying, okay, hi, go do Peter Pan in Portugal. You know, it's about what happens when you take... So I can't speak to Portuguese culture, but I can speak to South African culture, and like South African culture and African culture has a lot of like you've got the dances that happen, and you've got it's a different way of creating theatre, and it's a different art form, and there are different values within the culture from here in Britain. And what happens if you take something that is like, if you take the traditional gumboot dancing that you get in South African townships, but do it like on the streets of Edinburgh with a not a saxophone,
a
bagpipes. Sorry, I could just hear the sound of it, and it was drowning out my own internal voice.
That's why you couldn't concentrate.
No, but like what happens when you do that as an art form, and what does that invoke? But also, how do you take like the values of these two cultures and create a discourse within the art? For me, it's about working and finding that interesting connection points or conflict points, rather than just saying, I'll talk, if we were to do it with South Africa, turn around to somewhere like pop art and say, just give me one of your shows and I'll put it on here in London. Like, for me, that's just touring. Whereas actually inviting artists to work and play, and to share their cultural and also to share their way of working, that I think is an amazing experience for an artist, and B, can render some really unique work.
I get it. I just don't think you've. Yeah. Okay.
I'm being more of an art wanker than you want me to be.
Usual,
Sean.
yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I want you to visualize it instead of thinking about it, which is the same thing, but whatever. I don't know. I'm just feeling really antagonistic because I really like my idea, so I'm going to pick apart yours. Basically, Gemma.
This is what's happening. He's just negging us to try and make his idea look better. Cool.
Yeah, but also, when I still don't know what I know the aim of Gemma's. I know what it wants to achieve. I know what it wants to do, but I don't know what. I don't know what it is.
You know why I haven't been specific? It's because I don't really care about where it's put on. I care about like what the art is going to bring. And like if an artist turns around and goes, I want to do this in Nottingham Castle, I'd want to try and facilitate that. I'd want to look at the pictures. I'd want to look at the work and see what would come of it, because I think there are so many different ways that this can be taken. Whether it's saying, okay, we'll do it in 3 different locations in each country and hit up rural, inner city, and something else. Like that. There's something that for me is, but then you can sit there and have the VR in a market option, which for me is so deeply fascinating about looking at the world through a different lens, and culture is that lens. So yeah, like, I know that you want me to be more specific, but I'm kind of like, I don't care. The thing I care about is the art and the artists and the cross-culturalism.
I'm sorry. I'm just. You know what I mean? I'm old school. I like my theatre with rollerblades. You know what I mean?
The man likes what he likes, and what he likes is Starlight Express.
Well then, Sean, pitch us your rollerblades.
No, Joe should go next.
No, Sean should go next.
Okay.
No, I think Jem should go again.
Jem should try and explain her idea again.
So there are these pigs.
No, Sean, if you really want to go last,
I do want to go
next.
last. I do.
All right.
Quick, before I pitch strapping a GoPro to a pig.
All right, so
where's the pig come from?
I don't know, but I'm imagining these tiny little squealers and like GoPros strapped to their little backs, so you see their flappy little ears as they're running around their pen. Welcome to my brain, everybody.
So for mine, I want to explore more of the emotional side of what it means to be twinned with something. I should ask at this point, Jem, Sean, are either of you familiar with the song "Brothers on a Hotel Bed" by Duck
I'm so glad. I'm so glad.
I thought he was
you
about to
had
ask
that.
me if I'm a twin.
Yeah. Yeah, have either of you got a twin? No.
I thought Joe was gonna be like, are either of you familiar with what's the name of that film where like the human centipede?
Human centipeding. Yeah.
And I was like, I don't want to do anything related
Yeah.
to human centipeding with twinning.
For what it's worth,
Where
I
does
think
that come from? He was on about towns twinning, and you're like, oh, I don't want to be a human centipede.
He said like the emotional element of twinning, and I'm like, no, I never want to be attached to somebody.
For anyone watching this on YouTube, post in the comments below where you think me, Sean, and Jem would be if we were a human centipede. Let us know. But onto my pitch. So yeah, are you familiar with the song "Brothers in a Hotel Bed"?
I tell you
by
now,
Jeff
I best be
Calvert
at the
Cutty?
front because I'm really fussy with what I eat.
That's a fair point. But to be fair, most of your food is already brown.
Oh, Joe.
So this song, "Brothers on a Hotel Bed," it's essentially about an old married couple who have been so kind of like long-standing in their relationship that all of the intimacy has faded out of the relationship and it has become almost platonic, to the point where them lying in what was once their marital bed may as well be two brothers lying together on a hotel bed. That is the point of the song, and I thought there's an interesting element of exploring this in this kind of notion of how much, especially over the last few years, of communication and of how theatre has kind of seen itself moved onto the kind of video conferencing platforms. Not naming any names, but let's just say at this point I'm going to zoom in on my camera. But
if you don't zoom in on your camera right now, Joe, I am disappointed with you.
it doesn't actually have zoom. It's a static camera. So it's exploring the way that talking to people for a long time became far more of a thing that was often done for people via video conferencing, via like chats online, by the way that we're recording this right now. So my thought is it's a kind of constantly evolving piece where it can have little bits changing depending on location, but I want it to be, it's a two-hander of two people having kind of essentially, it's a 1 hour piece where over the course of it, two people realize that maybe their relationship isn't working and that just kind of, they can't really do the long distance thing. But the idea is that wherever the piece is being performed, it's also simultaneously at that time being performed in that place's twin town or sister city.
Okay.
So that at any time, the audience don't see themselves, but they can see on the camera, on like the wall behind them projected, the kind of like the conversation happening, but also see the other audience. So that it's essentially looking at this idea of how long distance relationships can survive, how whether relationships can really find intimacy without physical proximity, but also by forcing people to confront themselves with the fact that a lot of the time the concept of the sister city, of the twin town, kind of doesn't mean much. It's one of these things where these can be people that are technically connected to you that you might go your entire life without ever thinking about. So being fully aware that they are there and experiencing something equivalent to you at the same time.
I quite like that. I'm like seeing this idea of like, okay, so you're in an audience of what, 50 to 100 people. But then like projected behind you is still a further 50 to 100 people, but they just happen to be in a different country.
Yeah, like, you know, kind of as a random example, it might be that this play is happening in, say, Almerim in Portugal, but
That
also
sounded very French, Joe.
Yeah, but also in Dreux in France.
In Bleu.
Dreux.
Okay.
It's Dreux. You pronounce it better than Dreux.
I'm not French.
Or,
Sean.
it might be happening in Almada in Portugal and in Havana in Cuba.
I mean, fair
This
enough.
list can go on. But as I said, it will not until the Patreon exists.
Fair enough.
Sean,
Sean.
any thoughts?
I liked it.
Okay.
He explained it well. He explained how it was going to be performed, Gemma. It was really great. I understood what his idea was.
Oh, so you're nagging at me, but not at Joe. I see how this is.
Yeah,
How
because I
could I?
told you my idea was great. 10 out of 10, no notes.
Oh, I've got notes. I've got notes.
I've got notes
Yeah, but
too.
I've got
I'm
no
just not going to
notes.
tell them to you.
Yeah, as always, I have no notes.
I'm just
they're
gonna
performing the
like.
same
Because I
thing.
wrote nothing down.
They're performing the same thing, starting at the same time.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing camera at the back.
Should be camera at the front.
No, yeah. There are kind of, from the where it's positioned is in any particular place, what you're seeing on the screen is the actual person on stage is just someone in a chair, desk or whatever in front of them, laptop on it. You're seeing the like the Skype conversation, but then also on like the projector behind it, there's a third panel beyond those two, which is showing the view from the other theatre.
Oh. Wouldn't have done it like that.
I wouldn't have done it like that.
I would have. I like it, but I want to see. I want to see the back of the performer as well. So the back of the screen acts as like a mirror to Portugal.
Oh, that's interesting. See, I wouldn't have done that. I would have had the camera probably positioned like if you were to do it on, say, a proscenium arch, like at the top of the proscenium middle of the proscenium arch, looking at the audience. So then projected behind the audience in any given live space is the other audience. So it's kind of like if you were to sit at the front, you would turn around and see your live audience and like the people in the same space as you. But then further beyond, you'd be like, you'd see even more audience, but then you'd know that audience is actually, they're watching it from a different space and place.
I hate that. So you're what? So like to get a good. See, you're projecting another audience behind the audience, so the audience only see it if they get bored of the show and have a look around.
No, because it's like it turns it a little bit more immersive. But for me, it's also about, I think it's me also being far more interested in this idea of creating moments where people in different spaces can feel connected, right? And like what my thought would be is that idea of you can like you are also there with the audience, and the sort of special thing is that you are watching this performance, but you're also aware that you are part of a larger audience that you aren't in the same space with, but you're having the same experience as.
I wouldn't put them behind them, no. Put them behind the performer. If you wanted to do that, if you wanted to be aware that, look, we're all an audience.
No, I mean, I like the mirroring idea as well.
But I think it's just in my head, it's having obviously like the actor, kind of side on to the audience in a way, just because like you put them facing the audience and they're blocked by a laptop.
Not if it's a small laptop.
How big is your laptop?
Do you want me to get my ruler?
No.
Yes.
Okay.
I want Sean to pitch his fantastical idea, because I think we're just getting pedantic with Joe's idea.
Hang on. How are you going to measure it? Are you going to measure it lengthwise, or are you going to do it properly so it's diagonal from corner to corner?
Oh, I was going to do it both length and width.
Oh, No,
Gotta be
do
honest,
it.
I also can't seem to find my ruler at the moment.
Oh,
so
you haven't got
this-
your ruler to hand.
Sean, I think
shame.
I think
Okay,
I just
fine.
think
I've found a ruler.
Gemma, have a guess. How big's his laptop? In
I-
centimeters. None of this inches malarkey.
I don't take part in these kinds of conversations. I leave these conversations to the boys.
I reckon it's 42 centimeters.
36.
Sorry, is that for which one are you going?
From corner to corner. From opposite corner to corner.
Fine.
How you properly measure these things.
What, just the screen or the actual whole thing? 'Cause-
Let's
How
just say,
is this entertaining? Anybody listening?
Gemma, that's not how this works. They're not going to reply. They're not going to say no.
Look, I've already asked them to ask about the human centipede. I don't think they're going to respond to this as well.
Okay, so I cannot believe that. I feel like it's so obvious what you do with this list.
By the way, Sean,
Yes.
it's precisely 40 centimeters. You were pretty close.
Oh, so close. Damn that, 2 centimeters. Right. So I can't believe none of you's looked at this and thought, you know what, this should be an improv show.
Oh gosh. Okay.
That's because I look at nothing and think it should be an improv
Right.
show. Improv shouldn't exist.
Yeah.
It's
Listen to Boat Club.
It's not really a show. It's more of a project. Okay. But I feel
okay. So Jam, your cross-cultural festival is all right. Come on,
mine is way more cross-cultural than yours. Okay.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay. So have you ever? Joe can probably tell me it. The improv game called Action Replay. Does anybody know it?
Explain it for the audience or anybody who
Action
hasn't played
Replay
improv
is that
for like 10
you'll
years.
get one group will act out a scene or a show, while another group with the same numbers are watching it, but they can't hear it. Normally they'll have headphones with like music banging, so all they're seeing is the actions. Yep.
Right.
My idea is an international improv project where the whole thing is a version of Action Replay. Okay, so there's 2 versions of this. The first one is just the Portuguese and the English version. So on here there's a lot of Portuguese towns and there's also quite a few English towns. So we're gonna pick 8 English towns and 8 Portuguese towns. Yep. And we're gonna go to them towns and we're gonna find a local, I don't know, like amateur dramatic or improv group. We're gonna find them, and then the first Portuguese one, they're gonna act out a very simple, show. So I'm thinking maybe we do like something fairy tales, like some grim tales. That's why I got the book. So we could do what's this one?
Goldilocks.
The cat and the mouse set up a house. There we go. We could just do a simple one like that. They act it out in Portuguese, and they're like, "This is the thing," and then they're performing like via video or something to an English amateur dramatic or improv group. And obviously they don't speak Portuguese, they speak English, hopefully.
You hope.
Hopefully none of them know Portuguese. But anyway, so then they act out the scene that they've just thought they've watched. So obviously it's Action Replay, but without having the loud music. Obviously it's a different language. And then we do that 8 different times and we see what the last English group comes with compared to the first Portuguese group, and it's like a pen pal of improv.
So how does the audience fit into this?
They don't. This is more. There is. Well, I mean, there could be an online aspect where people are watching the different ones as it goes along, but it's all about the amateur dramatic scene, Gemma. It's all about the improv. I just want to do an international Action Replay with loads of different people. And the other version is, so one of these towns, like just for the one I've picked here, obviously I can't pronounce the name, I haven't got a great accent like Joe, but there's like this one's got like 10 different countries that it's paired with. So like the Portuguese one, they could act out their simple show, and then these 10 all watching the same thing, all try and create what they think they've just seen, and we see the differences that they get, which, you know, it could be really interesting to see what, okay, so we've all watched the same thing. Yeah, we don't understand it, but we've seen these actions. What does an Italian theatre group create compared to a Chinese one and compared to a Japanese one? They're seeing the same actions, but what does that mean to them? How do they interpret that? Culture! Boom!
I see what you're getting at, and I quite like it, and I quite like the potential for the show to be called
It'd be
You're
fun,
on
wouldn't
Mute.
it?
Like, I genuinely like the potential of a show being called You're on Mute. But my concern with you pitching a theatre show that is not for audiences is that, so I'm watching this show, right, and I don't speak Portuguese, but I speak English, so I watch, I don't know, there's 15-minute improvisation, because it should be 5, but it's always going to come to 15-minute, and I'm like, okay, cool, like, I'm enjoying this, hopefully, this improvisation. Then I've got to sit for 15 minutes not understanding how much the other team have understood. So, like, I then sit confused and a bit bored for 15 minutes, because one of the reasons that, like, action replay, at least for me, works is how much is, like, the audience are in the know. They know the secret of what actually happened, and they can see how it's like Chinese whispers, is that you see it devolve, right? Chinese whispers isn't fun for anybody in the whisper chain, but it's interesting and it's fun for the person who started it. So it's kind of like, for me, my big question would be, and that's why I say, how does the audience fit in there, is like, what's the audience experience? Or is this just you playing Taskmaster, but you don't understand Portuguese either? So
it's
like,
a little bit of both. It's a little bit of both. And do you know what, Gemma? If you don't speak Portuguese, just skip to the next English one, and then when they're like, "How the hell did we get there?" You can be like, "Oh, I need to learn Portuguese."
Well, also, I will stand up here and say that as someone who kind of watches quite a lot of films with subtitles, there are occasions where, you know, sometimes I won't be actually reading the subtitles, but I think a lot of the time, if these things are done properly, you can kind of get what people are hinting at, even if you don't get the language.
Jem's about to say, how can we subtitle it? It won't be live. It won't be live streamed.
Then if it's not live, why then how is it theatre? I don't think your show's theatre then, because that's exact like that. Then you're going to be turning to me and saying Murderville is theatre, because that was improv, but it's pre-recorded. It's not theatre if it's just video on demand, because there's no audience. Therefore, there's no liveness.
Like, recordings of theatre aren't theatre anymore.
No, because they had an audience, right? There is a sense of liveness there. Because theatre is, at least by most definitions, includes this idea that you're in the same time, space, and place as an audience and an actor, right? You're experiencing something with a sense of liveness, and like, because for me, I'm like, if you're going to turn around and say that that's theatre, then whose line is it anyway? Is theatre too?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. But for me, that's not theatre. That is a televised program that's been designed for TV. The audience that is there is just for effect, right? And that, like, that's what that otherwise, like, Jonathan Ross late night is theatre, where for me that's not theatre. That's a late night show. Graham, not like, there is murkier and murkier lines now that we live in sort of post-pandemic, post-digitization worlds. But I would argue, Sean, that that's not theatre, what you're pitching. Because your audience...
Look, I have made it very clear so far that my opinion is that the audience are there to be neither seen nor heard. So I'm firmly on the side of minimising audience involvement.
At no point did I give a crap about the audience when I thought about this. Yeah. I thought it'd be real fun to do an improv game where You don't know what's being said between different cultures, and
I
was
love
the
that.
aim.
I
And that was
love
the aim.
that.
It's not for. Do you know what, Gemma? It's not for an audience. It's for the people. It's for the performers and them.
Okay,
and them
then-
connected.
Then me strapping a GoPro to a dog
No,
is theatre.
no, it's not. No, it's
Yes,
not.
it is.
Don't bring the dog into this.
I'm gonna bring
okay?
the dog, and now I'm gonna
Okay.
bring the little pig with his flappy
Hey,
little
You
ears.
were just saying that two old women who can't speak each other's language arguing about their grandkids as theatre. I am having this.
Because just like Waiting for Godot, you can do that, and like the theatre element is that it's a piece of theatre. There's an audience in the same time, space, and place as that, right? Whereas I'm sitting here going, if you're going to decide that there is actually no audience ever,
No, but there will be like.
there's an audience that's bored for half the time because they
There
don't
is.
get it.
No, I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
You're
because-
pitching a TV show, not a
I'm
theatre
not-
show, is what I'm
pitching-
saying.
I'm not pitching a TV show. I'm pitching I'm pitching a project. I tell you what, if there's a fucking uni student watching this, rob this idea, because I tell you, I think this has got legs, right? Yeah, it's not there might be an audience there. There might not be an audience there. The whole point is that the first Portuguese group do a scene, and then the second English group react.
I get
react
that.
To that. Yeah.
And
Yeah,
I
it's
love
and then,
that.
And then afterwards we can put it all online as all one thing, and then people can watch it. It's not again. There's no target audience. There's no that. It's just a nice. Don't do that, Gemma. Don't do that.
Just the
Sean.
idea that you're making something with no target audience makes me.
There is no target audience. Do you know what? Get out of that mindset. I don't.
no.
Really,
Like,
Sean,
that really
it's not-
annoyed me
I
at
think
uni
I've worked
all
it
the
out.
time. He was like, "You need a target audience. What's your target? No, you don't. No, you don't. I just want to do this for the crack. I think this will be funny. So you know what? It'd be a lot of fun. This is what it is.
Sean, do you want to know how you get an audience for it?
You
I think you're
You
not
get Gemma
thinking
to
big
fly
enough
her.
yet. I'm thinking the way we make this work is this is an improv jam. So we have different teams from across the world and basically see how many different versions of this we can do. So that, like, yeah.
No,
You
I
see,
don't,
like,
no, I
a
don't think
Portuguese
that'll
team.
work at all, because I think then you'll have the issue that Gemma's saying is that half the time the audience will be bored because they can't understand it. If you do it just put it online and the audience can interact with it whenever they want. They can skip.
You know how you fix your idea, Sean.
We put it in your festival.
We put it in my festival, but what we also do is you live stream it through something like the Zoom. Like Zoom.
No.
Because listen to me. They have live automatic transcriptions that can also, if you find a way to live automatically translate, even if it's a bit flawed, then
Then
there
what
you
happens
go.
then? What happens then with your original issue saying that your audience is going to be bored for 15 minutes?
because they aren't, because they'll be able to read within their own native
Then they can
language
do-
what's
they-
going on.
I don't want to live stream it. I want it to be like a pen pal between all these theatre groups.
Alright. How are we going to smush
It's
it?
for the theatre. It's where we all put it at your festival. It's for my show's for the theatre makers. It's for them to have fun with, and that maybe they make friends that are Portuguese, and then they live stream together because they become friends. Gemma, mine's about bringing these communities together.
Yeah, like
Also,
Sean's trying to-
wouldn't it be really? How are you not? I feel like my idea would be so much fun to see, because I really like the idea of like someone in Portugal starts telling the story of like Little
Yeah.
Red Riding Hood, and next thing you know, some improv group from Barnet, and they're doing like something about Fireman Sam. That could happen. Okay.
Yeah, Jem, where Sean's trying to build bridges, stop putting up walls.
I'm not putting up walls. I'm literally saying I don't think the bridge will stand. I think you need to add more of a keystone to it.
Yeah, I am, and it's friendship when everyone becomes friends.
Okay, how do we smush these ideas?
Well,
I really like my idea. How dare you? I mean, like, you
I really like my
guys aren't
idea.
fun enough.
I idea, but you went and shat all over that, so...
I'm still not even sure. Your idea is a festival for the British and Portuguese people.
Not for British and Portuguese people. It can be for anyone, but it's taking cultural
Anyone can come,
pillars,
but you can't perform unless you're Portuguese.
or you have connections to Portuguese or British culture. It's incredibly diverse as two cultures.
Easy option here would be to suggest we just do Gems Festival but put on our shows as part of the festival.
I don't want to do that, okay?
But that would be the easy
You'll force me to
option.
live stream my show, okay? And it's
No.
not for other people, it's for the performers.
But my idea is a way of kind of combining some of the spirit of all three of our performances.
Hit me with it, Joe.
So what we want to do is hit on something that combines Gems wanting to look into shared and kind of like differences in cultural experiences. I want to do something exploring the emotional impact behind the concept of twinning, and also of the way that we don't really reach out to these people that are theoretically connected to us. And Sean wanted to do a fun improv game that is for the theatre makers, not for the audience, that combines trying to work out what happens in other languages that you may or may not speak.
Yeah, why didn't I just say that?
Yeah. So my thinking is that I'm kind of thinking... So my first part is taking the element of mine of having the idea of two performances happening at the same time being linked by kind of like video calling into one another theatre. And what I want to do is take an improv group in each of the two places and have them be even numbers of performers, and beforehand each of the performers are paired up with another performer on the other side, and it's two halves, like two 20-minute things or whatever, and on each side they each take turns leading the performance, and then on the other side whichever team isn't leading has to mirror the actions of the person they've been paired up with exactly. So that it becomes an exercise of them trying to kind of like replicate this improvised performance from what they're seeing, you know, kind of through this streaming platform. And it's obviously, it then brings in this way of they're each kind of given, they're each given a word at the beginning of it, and what they aren't told is that they've both been given the same hint as to what the word is, so that we're examining this both in terms of how the performers each approach this hint differently, how they approach it from a kind of like cultural perspective within that, but also how they approach trying to mirror and replicate this performance, not realizing that obviously it's using the same thing that they've been given.
Sure. That'll do.
And it's at Gemma's Festival.
Yeah, and it's at Gemma's Festival.
There you go. We've got 3 performances at a festival already. I think yeah, fair
Yeah,
enough.
cool. Done.
Yeah.
There you go. Cool.
And if you want to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, you can't because it's just for us, the performers.
That's fine. I'll
No,
promote
seriously,
that.
guys. The link is down below in the description of whatever you're watching this or listening this on. It's basically linktree/OFITD, and there you can find our website. You can find our Instagram, other stuff that we probably just forget to post. And sorry, it happens the day after. Maybe I'll forget Instagram. Who cares? Maybe I'll forget Twitter. Who cares? Or Facebook. Anyway,
Follow
forgot
us
what I
on
was
all
saying.
of them.
Just follow us, guys. Done. Do that. If you want to follow me, don't know why, it's still Shawnee B on Instagram. If you want to follow Gemma, it's
OFITD_JEM.
with a J, guys. It's Gem with a J. Don't
It
forget.
is.
And if you want to follow Joe,
You can do so at NotJoeRonchka. That's NotJoeRonchka.
I'm enjoying the the clickies.
Oh, it's building up. And yeah, you can find there my link tree to links of all the things I'm doing, including the great improv group I'm part of, Boat Club, season 2 of the podcast coming soon.
Woo.
improv, it's great. You know what,
Yeah.
Joe? My show, it's for people like you.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, Boat Club as well is very much, it's for the performers, not the audience. Because we are also the audience, we usually get like 3 views. Two of them are John.
We need we need to get more audience over there. Clearly.
But yeah, Sean, Jem,
What?
Yeah.
while we were just doing plugs then, I went back onto the randomizer and got us next week's article. Would you like to know what we're going to be talking about?
What if I said no?
Well, I'd still do it anyway.
I've tried
You ask
that.
us
He
every
still does
week.
it.
Yeah.
I've done that a couple of times, and he's like,
Yeah,
"Oh, I'm still
the
gonna
answer
do it."
is tough shit. It's still getting told to you.
He's already pressed the button.
Damn
Yeah,
it.
the randomizer has been randomized.
All right, hit us.
It is
It's improv.
Millennium Challenge 2002.
What?
Millennium Challenge 2002 brackets MCO2 close brackets was a major wargame exercise conducted by the United States Armed Forces in mid-2002. The exercise, which ran from 24th July to 15th of August, cost $250 million, equivalent to around $360 million in 2020, and involved both live exercises and computer simulations. It was meant to test the future of military transformation.
War games.
When you gave the title, I fully expected something far more like Power Rangers than War Games.
Oh, I wish
War
it was
games.
Power Rangers. I'd have a field day.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Be
Well,
such a colourful arena show. And do you know what, Gemma? It'd be for the Power Ranger fans, not anyone else.
well, thank you
No, it'd
anybody
be just
who's
for
listening.
the Power Rangers.
It's just for Kimberly and
Hey.
It would just
Aisha.
be for the Ranger Corps and maybe Zordon if he's lucky.
There
and
are
Billy
enough Power Rangers
and
at this
Zach.
point.
What was the
And Adam.
robot called?
Alpha 5.
Ah, Alpha 5.
Aye.
On that note, I
love
hope you've
Power
enjoyed this
Rangers.
episode. Join us next week for when Sean pitches something just for Power Rangers about war
Hang on.
games.
I
What?
wonder if I could do that. Yeah, I'll try.
Yeah.
I'll try.
I'm so
Can I
looking
turn
forward to it.
American military into Power Rangers?
Hey, we've put buildings on rollerblades before, so
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that
I
makes
think
that-
there's only one thing left to say. Knock it out the pitch, y'all.